Today I want to share with you my analogy for why it's so difficult to change. 2 words, phantom pains. Phantom pains are pains that people experience who have lost a limb. Basically, they experience their limb as if it's still there, even though it's no longer physically there. Now, the reason they feel this pain or experience the sensation of this limb that they no longer have is because of the physical connections that are made in our mind. So basically in our brain, there's physical connections that allow me to move my arm, to move our body in the ways that we do. We don't give it a second thought because it comes natural to us. We take those things for granted. But there are physical pathways that allow us to move our body in the ways that we do. Now, just because somebody loses a limb, it doesn't mean that those physical connections disappear. And this is the key for how I want to bring up change and why it's so difficult. So if we think about our habits and our routines that we do every day and the things that we want to change in and about our life, we're used to doing those things on a daily, hourly, weekly basis, whatever it is. And so because of all those repetitions, we have formed physical pathways in our mind that when we want to change, we end up having to work against. So I'll bring back the analogy again. So if somebody loses their right arm, they don't have the luxury of ever trying to use that arm again. They have to adapt their strategy in their day to using their left arm and other parts of their body, or however they're going to do it. With our habits, if we want to change our habit and do something new, there's nothing except for ourselves preventing us from sliding back in and doing those habits that we want to change. So we don't, like in the limb example, we're losing a limb, we don't lose our habits unless, it's really up to us. So that's why change is so difficult, because we have formed physical pathways for the way that we live our lives right now. And anything other than that is uncomfortable for us and not as easy, because our body likes to work efficiently and effectively. So it likes to do the easiest thing. So the easiest thing for us to do is the thing that we always do in our life. So where's the hope? Well, the hope that exists is with the idea of neuroplasticity. Now, if you're not familiar with the term, for a long time, the understanding of our mind was that our minds are fixed and that they cannot change. However, scientists have now realized that neuroplasticity exists, whereby we can actually change the way our minds are wired. So even though we have these physical connections that tie us to the habits that we currently have, we can change them and create new patterns or new connections within our mind that are connected with those new habits or those changes in behavior that we're trying to create and implement in our lives. So that's the hope. There is hope. We have to repeat those things on a daily, weekly, whatever basis that we want. And the more frequently we do those repetitions, the stronger those connections are going to be. So don't forget, it's difficult to change because of the physical connections in your mind, but we can change because our brain is malleable, and if we do those things on a continuous basis, we can form those new connections associated with those habits that we want to increase in our life.